When you get a little one-aways, a little prips on WhatsApp, a little early morning call, a little I saw you in Juicy Beef and we're both getting breakfast and we have a little kya, go back to your desk and say, what's so good running into you today? Just confirming that the new way forward is X. As we discussed on WhatsApp, make sure that you are, and it's a fine line between being a snitch and just, saving your life. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of things can be said in passing, and you grab it like fact and run to the end of the line, and you don't realize that I'm changing course and it's back there you're supposed to go. When you can have an email saying, hey, just clarifying that we are changing course, or just confirming that we're going ahead with this talent, everybody has an opportunity to jump in and say something, so that even if it goes wrong, nobody can say they hide and do it. Like it's evil, the evil, wicked, and bad, and try and mash it up. It is important, and this is something that helps everybody going forward. How to keep the clients once you have found them, once you have convinced them to belong to you for any length of time. You get to keep them by being better. As they say, one pearl is not a necklace. It's fantastic to have a good win and a strong client and even a nice award. But if you are not consistently building on that, you just have a little one pearl and a little one pearl and we want the whole thing. So the number one rule for me when it comes to keeping clients, and by that I mean keeping them happy, never let them call you about a problem first. Never let them know about a problem in a project they have with you before them. If it running late, call them. If it got confused, call them. If the bearer went to KFC and the line was too long, so the thing not coming on time, call them. Make sure that a client is not calling you and saying, how come I don't have X? Because if a client call you first, baby, you messed up. And you are gonna have to fix that with more energy than if you call them and say, listen, I know we said Wednesday, but it is looking like it's gonna be Friday. Is that okay with you? I have rarely, from little grub days at desk, didn't even have my own desk, just couch wherever I could get a couch, all the way up to now, I can count on one hand, maybe two, I'm not good at math, when I called a client first and said, hey, this deadline has to be pushed, and somehow we don't come to an agreement where it's okay. But let me miss that deadline by 0.3 seconds. That's the end. Big fight, big war. Never let them reach out to you first. More client tips, particularly if you are hustling or starting your own thing. Manage your time. Time. Time is money, that's not a lie. Manage your time. There are too many apps, tools, and AI tricks out there for us to be struggling with basics. If you're not good at writing, get some boilerplate stuff. What is your little emergency? Get your list. How do you respond to a client you just spoke to and you're hoping to hear from them more? How do you let a client know that something is running late? How do you let them know that you want to reach out, connect soon, and have a meeting? Just go to ChatGPT or whatever. There's so many AI tools out there, and just get these boilerplate things that mean that you can just copy paste and move on with the rest of your business, because what you're doing is communicating and keeping that channel open about what is happening. You need to make sure that you're following up on planning, on scheduling, on following up on updates in a project. You need to have your timelines. You need to be able to talk to your team. You need to be able to keep track of deliverables and sub-deliverables and sub-deliverables and surprise deliverables you didn't even know you agreed to. All of that. You need to be able to flag delays as soon as possible, and there are tools upon tools upon tools upon tools.
You're going. Your mic is on. Thank you, Ms. Graham. We really appreciate your presentation. And I'm sure your presentation has resonated with the students. As we've seen, everything that can go wrong will go wrong. So we're just trying to make that right now.
And on that note, I'd like to invite Mr. William Watson, Director of AdLib Studios, to make his presentation, joined by Ms. Kadian Hilton. But before that, I'd like to call on Mr. Joshua Gordon, another third-year student, to introduce him.
Don't just create, make a statement. These are the powerful words that drove this outstanding individual to success. Being formally trained at the Edna Manley College of the Visual and Performing Arts, and with years of experience in graphic design, advertising, and branding, he then branched off on his own in February of 1997. His hard work and resilience earned him notable clients, namely the Office of the Prime Minister, Wisynco, Chase, and GK Insurance. He also can be considered as a master in his field and creates work of the highest caliber. We are pleased to have him here today as he'll be sharing on the art of pitching. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. William Watson, being accompanied by Cadian Hilton.
I think it's the other way around. Is Cadian Milton being accompanied by William Watson, all right? So Ms. Milton would lead off the first part of our presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you doing this evening? Awesome. All right, thanks for having us. We'll be talking about pitching and post-pitch. Let's see if this works for me. All right, there we go. All right, so oftentimes companies need help, whether it's to get a message out there, whether it's to get a form of reaction or action, or whether it's they're selling a product or a service. So then they would reach out to an agency, or whether it's a PR agency, a marketing agency, an advertising agency, to help. And they would oftentimes submit this request through tendering or a bidding process, right? So this is, they send out these invitations to the selected agencies who will then prepare a proposal, which is also known as an advertising pitch. Oops, are we going back? Oh, okay, what's going on here? Okay, so that leads us to now, what is a pitch? So according to Marketing Edge magazine, pitches are like fashion shows. They're not always an example of what should be done, but what could be done. It's a chance for the agency to pull out all the stops and really wow the clients. So in other words, a pitch is a campaign proposal that is offered through an agency. It outlines the objectives of the campaign and what essentially the customer or the client wants. So phase one of the pitch process is the request for a proposal, as mentioned earlier, or it is also called an open bid process. This document outlines the scope of work, timelines, budget, and other critical information that the agency would need to develop a campaign that is effective, and of course, that would wow the clients and also achieve the objectives. The RFP may also go into detail about the target audience and also discuss what the product is about, what the service is also about, and sometimes the budget. Sometimes I've seen RFPs that does not include a budget, other times it does, and we like when it does because it gives us a direction, a clear direction of all the wonderful things that we can do, or just give a little that is in line with what the budget says. So this is an example of our communication brief from Maggie. Everybody's familiar with Maggie? All right, awesome. So this one outlines the background of the company, the competitors, and it's good. This document also is very important to us because our esteemed colleague mentioned earlier that, well, colleagues, both of them mentioned earlier that research is very, very, very important. I cannot stress how important research is. I mean, it doesn't make sense to put together a proposal that is not guided by data. All right, that is not guided by what is happening, that is not guided by what your competitors are doing, what the prices are, or what your customers think about the product or the service, and also what they feel about it. So research is very important. And it's not only just going to Google, all right? You have to get out there, you have to get dirty, you have to ask the right questions to get the information so that you can wow your clients. So this document now, the communication brief also talks about what the competitors are doing in the market. It talks about the landscape, what the consumers understand, the sensory explorations, the digital conversations that are happening, and that digital is very important. I'll get to that a little later as well. It also talks about your target audience. This is the consumer information. This is very important as well. What age, who are you talking to? What age group? Are they male or females? Where do they live? What do they like? What do they eat? You have to understand everything about your consumers for an effective proposal. Then it also continues to talk about the brand. What is the brand purpose? What is their personality? Is it a company that is boring? Can you go a little risque? Can you do sexy things? You have to understand the brand personality, because you don't want to prepare something that you think is okay, and then you go to the clients and you're like, no, you cannot use this type of language. You cannot use this type of sexy girl on the poster. So you have to understand what their personality is and be guided by that. Additionally, you also have to be, the document will outline the communication objectives, what they're trying to achieve, and that too guides the proposal. It also outlines what is required from the agency. Are they going with a 360 approach, or they just want radio and TV, or they just want digital content, etc. So oftentimes they will outline what they want to you, or you have the full freedom to give them what you think is effective for the campaign. And of course, it will outline the deadlines. Now, deadlines are very important. This you have to ensure that you and your team is abreast of. You're always 10 steps ahead and also ready to meet your deadlines, because you don't, in the bidding process, you don't say, what date is today? The 16th of March, right? So you have a proposal that is submitted today. They didn't give you a time, but you feel like because they didn't put a time in it, you can give them tomorrow. No, today is March 16th, and it's the deadline. So if it's even 12 o'clock, just make sure that you send off that proposal, right? All right, so when we receive the RFP now, we want, as an agency, we want to land that job. Of course, what does that mean? We want the money, don't it? So we are going to pull out all the stops to ensure that we will win that campaign. And we also want to put together something that is in line with their budget. And even if the money is small, we want to pull out all the stops so that they can maximize on whatever budgetary constraints. All right, so we spoke about research, and that is pitch mode. So when you get that RFP now, we, as an agency at AdLib, we take pitches very seriously. And when I say seriously, it is a fun time for us. We get excited because we are creatives. So everybody, the team gets together, and we look at the brief in detail. We look at what the client wants. We highlight the important details, and of course, deadlines. We make sure we write that down, and we have our little WhatsApp group where we put that information in so everybody is abreast of what's happening. Now, the creative director now takes the reins with the creative brief. We have our internal team After we break down the document, everybody knows who's supposed to do what. So our research team now, they get on the ball. So when we are ready to have that discussion, they can say, okay, this data says that, this survey says that, etc. So we're guided by what they say. And then in our little powwow session, as William loves to call it, we go in great detail. We talk about what we think, we talk about the direction that we think that the campaign should go. And of course, all of this excitement, this does not mean that the work stops. Remember that we also have other projects going on. We have other deliverables. So I don't know how we do it. I really don't know how we do it. It's a crazy, chaotic space, but we make it work in a sane way, I must say, right? All right, so what we do now, when we outline what approach we're gonna take, we usually come up with about 2 concepts, or maybe more, but usually 2. So, we want to ensure that we give our clients options in terms of how, in terms of the direction that we want the campaign to go. And usually we always ensure that it's a 360 approach. So whether it's website, whether it's social, TV commercial, radio commercial, etc., or print, we have every area covered in the concepts. Now, the finance team now is a part of our creative team. They're always in the mix. And they are guided by what we want, and they're on the ball now, ready to research what the cost of certain line items may be. And our finance team is very critical as well, because they have a group of your network is very important. So, in the middle of anything, you can always pick up the phone and say, John Brown, all right, I have this project coming up. I need 40 tents, or I need 400 of something, or I need 1,000 of something. And the relationship that we have, they're like, okay, I can get that done for you. And always too, why it's important for networking, because you always get best price, and you always want the best bang for your buck. All right, so at AdLib, we always take pride in our work. We live by the mantra, we don't just create, we motivate the consumer, we elevate the brand, and we infuriate the competition. So we ensure that in every aspect of a concept, it is the best. And we also ensure that we prepare properly for our presentation when we are ready to pitch to our clients. Now, this is a sample of what we prepared for the Maggie communication brief, and I'll hand over to William.
Which way to go?
All right, this way, this one.
Top one? Okay. Alrighty, well, this is an actual, so based on what we were, based on what we were asked to do, we actually did an actual case for you to have a better appreciation of how the pitching process is and what we do internally, to get it done. All right, so this was a RFP that was sent out to all the agencies, or just about everybody in Jamaica. And we, of course, went for it, and we pull all the stops. I can't remember who wrote the book, but there's a book that's called The Little Blue Book of Advertising. And it says that one of the things, and I remember my peer just mentioned that one of the misleading phrases that we have, that the client is number one. Another one is that to think outside the box. It's not true. The client themselves will tell you that, but they can't think outside the box. In fact, human as a being, we really grow incrementally. So you get a car and it moves and it improves 2 years' time, and 3 years' time you get a better car. But would you move from handcart to rocket. And it's the same way in advertising. So when the client gives you like a brief and they will tell you, think outside the box, and you do so, most times you find that the iteration comes right back to where they are originally. So it's always best to go incremental to get changes for the client. So when we got the brief, we looked at, of course, everyone underpin our research and data is critical. Maggi is one of the brands that belongs to Nestle, and Nestle does vast amount of research, and that's one of the good things with them. So they were able to give us precisely who the demographic is and who they're catering to. And they told us, right, that Maggi is consumed by mostly single moms who has 2 or more kids, who doesn't have time to prepare meals. So she would maybe be a dressmaker, or she works at a factory. So, and she comes home in the evening, she doesn't have time to season her meals and leave them overnight. So she has to do it quickly. And they even gave her a character, a personality. Her name is Keisha. And so she's relatable. So when we're creating the campaign, bear that in mind. So fortunately for us, we got a lot of the data ready. In fact, now that I think of it, I don't think we got that information on the pitch. We got the information after, in the communication, after we were successful with the initial bid, right? All right, so. Oh. You know what? So we move to the next. All right, so this was our cover page. So we look bossy. All right. Of course, we came up with our situation analysis, and I won't read through all of these things. I mean, that's it? Okay, all right. So we came up, we did our internals, right? And we came up with, and Adlib is a small team. So let me tell you, it's a team of 12 persons, right? And our brainstorming includes everybody. Everybody. So even the janitor will ask, what do you think about this? Especially if it's that market we're trying to reach, right? So it includes everybody. We have a team lead, but it's not confined to the creative. So we listen to everybody, and then we filter the information down. For this, we came up with the flavor magician as the lead. We gave them the creative rationale based on the information that they gave us, playing up on the word flavor, and we tried and spell Maggie into the magician, which is what they really loved. And I also must tell you that advertising doesn't necessarily work everywhere, because down in Trinidad they say magician. So it's very market specific. In Jamaica we say magician. In Trinidad, they say magician. So you have to bear that in mind. And this is a concept that we came up with. And these are the internal, these are just layouts now. Remember, this is not what went to after approval. This is what we did to present to Nestle. These are the internal. So we try to make them as close to real as possible. We searched and we got images based on the demographic and what they said of who Keisha is. And Keisha with and the idea is that Keisha get the food with the magic. She got the food ready quickly. And that's why she's a magician, because with the help of Maggie and Keisha, they can work magic in the kitchen to get the meal ready quickly. So that was a rationale that we pitched based on what they said. And these are the various executions that we did for them. We went all out, giving them all the various ideas. Magazine, banners, cart. For that presentation, we also gave them another idea. So they ended up going with the flavor magician, but we had also given them light on the pocket, heavy on the flavor. And of course, that is speaking to Keisha's economical position, because they said Keisha doesn't have disposable income to shop or buy Mrs. Dash. So she can't afford Mrs. Dash. So we tried to play on that affordability. Can you go back to the one before? Yes. So we gave a profile of who we thought Keisha would look like with her kids, right? And playing on the heavy on the flavor. All right. We can just run through. And of course, you can't do a successful campaign without considering your digital sphere and your social. So these were the social presentations that we presented to them as well. All right. During all of that, right, and this was in the middle of COVID that we did all of this presentation. Fortunately, or not in the case, in this case, we weren't asked to do an actual presentation. It was judged based on straight merit of the work that we submitted. And as I said before, we got through and won the bid. Now, what we want to do is give you just a little synopsis of what the actual was. So, all right.
I don't.
Yeah, oh, it's really back. So this is your Keisha.
I don't have enough time for get dinner done, so me draw for my Maggie seasoning. Save me enough time. Anything me cooking, them have a Maggie for that.
Work magic in the kitchen with Maggi curry powder and seasoning cubes. Because there's a Maggi seasoning to make every meal taste better.
See there, with the flavor magician, Bob's dinner served. No complaints from the kids. Them think I'm the best cook in the world. I'm a Maggie girl.
Maggie look for the Maggie the flavor magician.
Right. All right. Let me give you. If you go to the end, you get the no. Right after that one. Next one. Not that. Yeah. Yes. You can play. Can you? No?
Every good link up needs them all. Every good link up needs them all. The Grill Boss, the Big Dipper, saucy selfies and spicy caption.
No, it's all right. It's okay. All right. We'll play that after. Well, so needless to say, that campaign ran for 2 years. And it was very successful that we were asked to extend the series, and we did. It was original to do one. We ended up doing about 5 executions. Yeah, I know. I'll try to do it quickly. 5 executions of it down the island. And just to give you a quick wrap up on the post, because it was supposed to be pre-pitch, post-pitch. I can't just stop like that. Yeah, it is the post-pitch. So the post-pitch is that we were able.
Draw for the Maggie.
Yeah, that's what the one I wanted, but that's fine. The post pitch was because the campaign was so successful that we were asked to extend, and came up with some other ideas. And the next one is one that we did as the post, because then you try your best to, as my peer said, to retain your client. We actually went now to push beyond just the initial campaign to extend to see what more we could do. And we were fortunate to have done some additional ones, which one of them we got an Addy for. So if you can just play the second to last frame for us to show the one that we did.
Draft with the Maggie cook with the Maggie look.
One, it's prior, it's just before this. The one here. Scroll back to the TVC. Right.
Every good link-up needs them all. The Grill Boss, the Big Dipper, saucy selfies and spicy.
It's not plain, but needless to say, this is the one that we actually got a silver Addy for. It was done last year and it ran for Christmas, along with the range radio, out-of-home executions, the full campaign for it. So just to wrap and close off, after landing whatever it is, whatever the pitch is, whether you are asked to pitch, like in this case we were invited to tender, you can also make your pitches. You can also pitch two. So you can notice a client has a need based on your assessment, what you have seen, maybe an existing client, because most times it's easier to extend the lead that you have within a company to get more rather than to get somebody new. So if you're working with a Digicel, I mean, the scope is endless. If you're working with Grace have multiple brands, they have multiple companies. It's easier to get more within the group than it is to get new one. Not to say you're not to try for new, but then within an umbrella group, they know your work. It's easier to convince them to come on track. And believe me, the advertising market in Jamaica is not that big. There's a lot of us, but most of us are working for the same clients, because clients that you work for, we work for, just about everybody have a piece of it. Yeah? And one of the ambitions that we all have is to extend beyond our markets, because our market is small. And with the scope of what is going on, AI, the internet, it's a global market, so it gives you the ability to do work globally. We have worked for a client out of Switzerland, and they have just gone to our website and have seen what we have done in packaging. So the scope is endless, right? So there's no finite amount of what you can do coming into the space. So don't look at the space as being in Jamaica and limited to Jamaica only, but have a global outlook, and the opportunity is big for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Milton and Mr. Watson, for that informative presentation. Really appreciate it.
All right, on that note, we now ask Ms. Tashawn Hendricks to join us again to pick up on her presentation. Unfortunately, due to time constraints, we will not be able to explore the content to its full extent as we wish, but we appreciate it nonetheless.
Hi guys, it's me again. All right, so we're gonna be quick, but I'll definitely share the presentation with you just so that you can go through, you can watch the ads, you can see some of the points come out. Yeah, cool. Okay, great. So I won't be playing all of the ads, but just to make the points, I'll be playing maybe 2 or 3, right? They're 30 seconds to a minute, so quick and easy, right? Can I go? Guys, you should look behind you, like I'm being counted off to play the audio.
For us Jamaicans, closeness is our way of life. We thrive on personal interactions and take pride in reaching out to each other. But now, we can't reach out in the same way. And the way we show each other love has changed. Today, we show our love by staying home and giving each other space. We love each other by staying apart, but still staying connected. Digicel.
So the clarity of this job was we just needed to tell people to stay home and to stay safe, but to stay connected, because even though we're isolated, the human connection was still important, right? So this actually won an Addy. We said strategy-led, right? What are the insights and how do you apply it? I'm not gonna play all of this video, but this was a Dove ad, and young girls were asked what is beautiful. So they were given these pictures, these magazine photos of these supermodels who are considered to be the most beautiful people. And somehow these young girls who were like 10 and under found like these like intricate details of things that they didn't like about these models, because their noses were a little bit too wide, or their hair, the hair wasn't straight enough. And it really just shed a light on how we perceive beauty, and how this is in India, so it's not Caucasians that's, you know, the majority group. So they were ascribing to Caucasian standard of beauty. So Dove did this whole campaign where they encouraged young girls and women to appreciate their own beauty. And they created a fund that was strictly to encourage and to kind of do these campaigns around getting young girls to appreciate themselves, right? So it's called the Self-Esteem Fund. And these like, it's a series of ads, and they've all like won some form of award. So I did say storytelling was very important, right? And in most cases, advertising is based on a story, right? So Keisha is a story. So the story though has to be relatable. So for Grace Christmas, we created this ad that every Jamaican should be able to relate to. Yeah? So we created the typical Jamaican Christmas. That was the scenario. And yeah, this actually won several awards.
My house? When were you planning on telling me this? Well, like now.
This Christmas, the entire family is coming together at Shelly's house.
Shelly, where you find this a gorgeous man?
I love a man who can cook, you know.
What is going on here? Witness the joy, the drama.
Joy?
Oh, go on to Michelle.
Wait, look.
It no look good.
So what can I help with? You're cooking? What you saying I can't cook?
You know.
All right, so let's go. Do you guys know the ad? No? Okay, all right. So you can watch it after, but really what we created were these like these stereotypical characters, like the auntie who can't cook, but she's very bossy, she's very fancy. The man who can cook, but he's really there to check out some girls. We created these characters and we put them together. And yeah, I mean, that video got 1 million views in like 3 weeks. And that's kind of record breaking for Jamaica. And we really just sat and wrote that ad in like a couple hours. This one, you guys should know, it's a Share a Coke campaign. The story here is very beautiful, but the story, it translated off screen very well. So people were actually sharing a Coke. Like, you'd see a Coke with Natalie, and I'd buy Natalie a Coke, because when else are going to see this Coke with somebody's name? And so people are just sharing the Cokes, and it created these other stories in the digital and traditional space. So disruption was my other point. I don't know if you guys remember. So how can you be disruptive, right? And there's another Dove ad. Wish I wrote this one too, but I didn't. But this Dove ad was about a supermodel, and they showed her transformation from her everyday self to her billboard self. And the thing is, right, it wasn't just makeup. After they made her up and she was all dolled up, they actually edited her photo because she still wasn't beautiful enough. And this one was really disruptive. At the time, I should check where it is now, but I know it won like 19 awards, including Cannes, and like just the most worldwide or globally acknowledged awards. So that's them editing the photo after. And it really started this conversation about like, what is beauty? Like, how do we, you know, define beauty? Star power, right? So we spoke about how if you find a star, it should be someone aligned to your brand. We had Coke earlier, okay, but now we're gonna have Pepsi for balance, right? Symmetry, yeah? Ready?
You okay? Is Pepsi okay? Is Pepsi okay? Ow! Our puppy's okay. He's a shooting star, okay? Is the laughter of a small child okay? Are you with me? Are you with me? You seem confused. Let's role play. Now.
Okay, I'm Steve. I'm an actor.
No. Just order something.
I'll have...
You will have a nice cold glass of the best thing you ever tasted, okay?
Okay.
I think you might be just saying it wrong. You gotta say it with pride, okay? Okay. Oh, yeah, kind of. Pepsi's more than okay. It's okay! Okay, what have we learned today?
You want a Pepsi?
I want a Pepsi.
She wants a Pepsi. There you go. Like Little John. Okay. I've got to come up with my own catchphrase. Okay!
So I can do the Cardi B okay at us, so it's fine. But you saw what they did there. They had stars that were completely aligned to their concept, and they really pulled it together nicely. Also an award-winning campaign. So it needed to be translatable or transferable. And we saw how Boldly Burger looked in the trade, but this was the ad. Like, this is how it looked, and this actually won a gold Addy, and I think a silver in a different category. But it was just pretty, and this was all shot in Jamaica. I'm gonna go. So the point I didn't make earlier is that you have to claim the award, right? So when you're creating, you have to think, I want to create award-winning work. Like, every time I get the chance to do something, I'm like, how do I make this great? And you really have to think like that. You also have to ensure that you are thinking about impact, like how is this socially responsible and all of those good things, right? But guys, I've worked on so many campaigns that haven't won awards because we didn't submit them. So award-winning work does not just become award-winning work. You actually have to submit it. So Janae actually submitted our Flash Motors ad for the Addy Award. And I mean, it's something that could have otherwise gone unnoticed, but if you don't submit it, how you win, right? Cool. So Flash Motors, it's an EV company. Like, they were one of the first to like introduce South Jamaica. They didn't really have a concept except that they wanted it to be great and it needed to say that it's an electric car and it's sustainable. So there are other parts of the campaign that I won't be able to show you today, but sorry, audio is not necessary for this one. So, but you will see them because the campaign is still being rolled out, even though we've already won the Addies for this. But for this campaign, we actually shut down Kingston to shoot the ad because we needed the roads with no vehicles and stuff. So we were already acting like this was an award-winning campaign. We're acting like we're doing big business, okay? We had police driving us through traffic. We're doing the most.
Dreams that lead us on our own legendary journey. But what good is a dream without the commitment to making it a reality? You could take the shortcut, but there's far more value in taking the scenic route. Especially when you know you're building something iconic. So, never shy away from the challenge. Always be ready to put in the work. Because if you're still moving, then you've got to keep building. Build your dreams.
So the car company, or the car brand, is Build Your Dreams, BYD. And they wanted to launch it in a dramatic way. There was a digital component that we also submitted and got some recognition. But it had other layers that you'll see, hopefully. When we post to Instagram, you can just say, hey, I remember you spoke about this. But we had other stars aligned to the brand, and we used the theme of It's Electric, and we found somebody who was aligned to electric or electricity. And we brought those people together, and we created a whole 360 campaign around it. So hopefully you'll see all of it soon. That's it from me.
All right, thank you so much for that great job, Miss Hendricks. We are bringing things to a close here on this, our second staging of the BACAT marketing seminar.
And as we move to wrap things up, I now invite Miss Evalicia Sutherland, another member of the third year class, to do the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Andrew. Ladies and gentlemen, we're almost at the end. Despite the technical challenges, I would like to apologize. I am sure that the beneficiaries of this seminar were not only enriched, but have also gained knowledge for their future careers. I would like to thank our presenters for their contribution to the success of this afternoon's event. Tashawn Hendricks for her insightful presentation on the characteristics of a winning advertising campaign. Mr. William Watson and Miss Katie Ann Milton for informing us about pitch and what happens post-pitch. And Miss Natalie Graham for giving us a great look not only on how to gain clients, but also retaining them. At this time, I would like to invite Mr. Dwayne Rose to offer a gesture of appreciation to our special guests. Mr. Dwayne.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, students. Thank you, presenters. William, Natalie, Tashan, thank you so much. Wasn't that informative? You just saying that, or you actually mean it? Actually. All right, wonderful. So I have some gifts here for our lovely presenters, so if you could assist me with calling them up. Okay, no problem.
Presented. Firstly, Miss Tashawn Hendricks. Please give her a hand as she comes.
We're graduating. She's graduating.
Next, Mr. William Watson and Miss Kadian Milton. And lastly, Miss Natalie Graham. Thank you, Mr. Rose. I would like to thank you and Dr. Rowan Lewis for your careful organization of this event, along with my classmates in Professional Voice and Speech 2023. A big shout out to our hosts, Shade Von Ellis and Andrew Shaw, for shepherding us through the proceedings, and Pascal Gray, who will be managing our question and answer session. To the CAT Productions interns, supervised by Mr. Rose and Dr. Lewis. Thank you for being the technical team at the controls. I know it has been hard, but you guys have been working. To our technical officer, Mr. Lennox Haldane, technologists, Monsieur Siobhan Hibbert and Joel Anthony Smith. Big up for the guidance and support in preparing for setting up the event. And last but not least, our guests this afternoon, thank you for coming out to join us at this seminar. Your enthusiasm and passion for marketing make our hard work and planning worth it. We hope you had an amazing time and leave this event feeling inspired and motivated to take your advertising and marketing efforts to the next level. Before I go, I wish to leave you with this quotation from Brazilian novelist Paulo Coelho. Whatever you decide to do, make sure it makes you happy. Once again, I thank you all. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Evelisa.
I'm sure you have gained even more knowledge to take you into the world of work from today's engagement.
We are sad to say, however, that this is the end of our program. But we look forward to seeing some of you again for marketing seminar number 3 in 2024.
Just before we go, we're also asking advertising students or students from the advertising modules to stick around for our Q&A session. Additionally, we're having the job fair tomorrow, March 17, up by the Alfred Sangster Auditorium from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Courtesy of our final year interns from Media Magnified, there will be a headshot session. For more info on this, please check out the Instagram page at BACATJA or grab yourself one of those flyers on the way out. Update, so sorry about that. We are no longer having our Q&A session, but please stick around for the marking of the register by Mr. Rose.
We We thank you for having us as your hosts. It was indeed an honor and a pleasure to guide you through this event.
We wish you all a pleasant evening.
Take care.
All right. The moment you've actually been waiting for.